All right. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. It is great to be here. And I got to tell you, the irony of this is that I am on stage scared, talking about fear. And I'm scared because I've only got a few minutes to do what I normally do in a seminar. When I work with corporations or organizations, I spend the full day getting people in touch with their fear. So I've just got a few minutes today, and my fear is that the arm of Father Time is going to come sweep me off the stage before I can really affect your life, which is what I hope to do. I'm not here to make overly bold statements, but I think the next 15 minutes could very well change your life. Couple it with the last 30 minutes that we've just heard, and absolutely, everyone should leave here a different person. Before I get started, I like to sing the national anthem to honor our vets, especially on Veterans Day, but I can't sing, I can't carry a tune. So normally, I ask for volunteers, because we're short of time. I'm going to pick 5 people to come up here and sing with me. And you, sir, in the red shirt, we'll start with you. And the gentleman in the black shirt right there, you were just up on stage, so I won't pick you, and you look like you could sing, too. And ma'am back there in the black shirt, we need 2 more people. Wait, I've got a better idea. Instead of just having the 2 people come up and sing like you normally would, we're going to have Delilah. Thank you. We're going to have Delilah on someone, and they can sing with her. So I'm not sure who would be, let's see, who would be, okay, I'm not going to make you guys sing. And I'm not going to make anyone hold this beautiful 7-foot boa constrictor named Delilah, who is here thanks to rainforest reptile shows from Beverly, Mass., just up the street. The point I'm trying to make is there are real fears and there are illusory fears. Fears that are illusion. How many people think this is an illusory fear right now? Not so many. Okay, so let me ask you something. How many people here are afraid to go to your own bathroom in your own house? Say aye. Not many. How many people right now, and be careful what you answer because you might end up holding her. How many people are afraid of snakes? Say aye. Okay, there's a few. That's an illusory fear. The fear of snakes, there are 243,000 people, according to the CDC. She wants to start talking. There are 243,000 people, according to the CDC, that get hurt in their own bathroom. There are 10,000 every year that die in their own bathroom. Not just Elvis, who famously died on the shitter, as we all know. But do you know how many people die every year from a snake? In the United States, 10 people. That's called an illusory fear. So I'm going to give Delilah back to Joni. Thank you very much. And I'm going to ask people. Delilah doesn't want to let go of my arm. She loves being on stage. They do great shows, by the way. So what I want to talk about now is what your body feels like. So normally we spend a day doing this. Do people feel a little bit faster beating heart rate? Is your mouth maybe a little bit dry? Your hands kind of a little shaky or a little wet? So that is your fear response. We're going to talk about the psychology behind it. So fear of public speaking, some of you just felt that. Fear of snakes, some of you just felt that. Also fear of heights. So I want to have a second here and show you something that might change your attitude as well. Picture yourself standing 1,000 feet up on a precipice, looking down at a broiling river, angry, nasty runoff from the Khumbu Glacier in Mount Everest. That's called, the Everest runoff is called the Khumbu Glacial Water. You're looking down 1,000 feet. You've got to get to the other side, to an equally imposing cliff on the other side. The only thing that's allowing you to do that is a 2-foot wide suspension bridge that's dancing back and forth because it's being slapped with that furious wind coming off the Khumbu Glacier on Everest. Could you look down and could you take that step out? Does it matter that you've got 40 pounds on your back? And oh, by the way, you're on a bicycle? Take a look. Incredible. So that's me on the way to becoming the first person to officially mountain bike to the summit of Mount Everest. I'm doing it, thank you, I'm doing it as part of Cycling the Seven Summits. That's me on a bicycle on the top of Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. I don't know, thank you. I don't know of any more extreme, dangerous, and crazy mountain biking scheme than that. Do you? So I have a confession to make. I was never the courageous, bold, daring guy that would ever do that. In fact, I was a complete sissy. I was the biggest wimp in the world. I would have never gotten near that snake. I can guarantee you that. What happened when I was 6 years old was I got struck with a fear experience I'm going to tell you about in a second that affected me for the rest of my life. One thing I found is you really have two choices in life. You can tame fear, or fear can tame you. Those are the only two choices you have. You can tame fear, or fear can tame you. If you look at anything great that was done, from Andrew, able to go through Florida State, from Neil Armstrong, from Rosa Parks, from Winston Churchill, any of those people were able to achieve something great because they had a relationship with fear that didn't affect them negatively. What I hope to do in the next 15 minutes or so is give you 5 steps that you can start to create a relationship with fear. Because if you're in marketing, if you're in executive, if you want a leadership role, people will follow a fearless leader anywhere. So let's go back to when I was 6 years old. I grew up just down the road in Belmont. My aunt and uncle had given us a puppy, new litter of puppies. They lived down in Atlanta, Georgia. We were supposed to go. Now, 2 weeks before we're about to leave, a Delta DC-9 slams into the seawall at Logan Airport, killing all 100 people on board. I remember a black and white picture of Chet and Natalie telling the story of this poor tragedy at Logan. 2 weeks later, we have to go to Atlanta from Boston. We get on drag all our stuff to Logan Airport, and then all of a sudden, as I was looking through that smoky terminal at a tail of a Delta aircraft, I got hit with a wall of electricity that was just full of fear. I was like a cat trying to run up a tree. I was nearly drawing blood on my mother's hand trying to pull out of that airport terminal. You know what happened? We got kicked out of the airport. Then we did the only thing we could do, which is drive 14 hours to Atlanta from Boston. Now, thank God I didn't have her for a mother. I'll just say that first of all. Secondly, if you want to guarantee you get shit for something the rest of your life at every Thanksgiving and Christmas, make your parents drive 14 hours instead of sitting an hour and a half relaxing, drinking cocktails on a plane. Because that's what happened. I got hit with a fear response. As you can see here, everyone has something called a fear frontier. And normally what happens is people get 3 responses when they hit that. This is what happened to me. Anyone know the 3 responses you get? Fight, flight. Anyone know the third? Freeze. Someone over there said it. Yeah, it's fight, flight, or freeze. What happens is you've got a little gland down at the base of your brain called the amygdala. The amygdala shuts off everything except what you need to survive. So you get this fear cocktail building up in your system. Adrenaline, DHEA, cortisol, all these things start to course through your brain. And what happens is if you succumb to one of those fear responses, your body goes like that. And you just completely tank. You fight, flight, or freeze. And I was doing my best to flight from Logan Airport. It was a nightmare. So one of the things that I want you to understand is a little bit is the science behind that. Now, fast forward 20 years when I was training for the Olympics. I had won a national championship in club level in college, and I was lucky enough to get invited to one of the Olympic training centers. 2 years of training full-time, I was ready for the 92 Olympic trials. I got into those trials, and I tell you what, paddling to the starting line, I nearly blew chunks. I was so nauseous. The butterflies in my stomach were so bad. My hands started shaking just before the gun went off, and not surprisingly, I finished 14th in those Olympic trials in the single scull, one-man rowing. But I knew there was something better. I knew I had more in me. And here's my second recommendation. It's going to be to find a coach. I knew I needed to find a coach. I was doing my first recommendation, which is what we just did right here, which was scare yourself. I think everyone should scare themselves once a month. Who was scared? Say aye. Aye. Come on, few people. Let's hear it. Who was scared? Aye. Okay, so some of you are scared. That's the best thing you can do once a month, because you start to feel what happens with your body. You start to get in touch with the things that are happening. The second thing you do is need to find a courage coach. So I found this coach when I was training for the Olympics. The problem was, he's a gold medal Olympic winning coach, and he was in retirement. So I said, Coach, you are way better than anyone else in the world. I really need a coach. I think I got more in me. He said, okay, I got one test, Sweeney. You want to know what it is? Want to know what his test was? He wanted to find out if someone could control their body and their mind when their body told them not to do something. Do you guys want to know what the test was? You do. Hold your breath until you pass out. Now, if you've ever tried it, you have to be a complete psychopath to get it on the first time. And it is not a fun 15 or 20 minutes trying to hold your breath until you pass out. But it's his way of making sure that his athletes had mental control. So he started coaching me. We spent every day, not just doing the physical stuff, but we did a lot of mental training. 1992 turned into 1993. He sent me to the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. It wasn't the VO2 max testing, the blood lactate testing, all those things that really gave me a huge improvement. It was sitting in a giant chair about the size of a 8-foot egg that was like a womb with 12 speakers and the sounds of a race going on all around me, and the best sports psychologist in the country inside my head. He was talking me through every race. That's your third recommendation, is self-talk. Every world-class athlete knows that the one thing you need to succeed is positive self-talk. You have to be able to be your own coach in your own head. So I was learning this. And that changed completely, that and the mental training my coach was doing, changed completely my mindset on fear. So one of the things I was able to do was not do this. I was able to take these 5 steps and push through the fear frontier. But there's a lot more to it than that. And that's what I got to find out. I got to the 1996 Olympic trials. We were in training camp, and I was with a training partner for the whole year. We'd do practice races every day. He'd beat me on about 60% of those practice races. He was taller, he had bigger VO2 max, and he was better looking too. He had everything. And the word was kind of out that we'd be some of the top guys. As you heard in the intro, I finished second in the 1996 Olympic trials. He finished 11th. It's all because of our relationship with fear. If you think back to your biggest regret in life, I guarantee you it was driven by fear. If you look at some of the boldest things, some of the things you're afraid to do, it's driven by fear. You have that fear cocktail that some of you felt today. You started to get a sense of that. Not only can you abate that, you can use that. You ever heard of a 150-pound woman lifting up a car to get her son out from underneath it? We've heard those stories, right? It's true. Because your body shuts down digestion, feelings of empathy, anything you don't need for survival. So you can use that. You can get to this level now. So the difference between someone who is really scared by that snake or by coming up here to sing, your heart rate might be 120 beats per minute. You're having that same fear cocktail run through your body. Think about John Lester, Game 7 of the World Series, facing down the best batters in the Major League Baseball. His heart rate's probably 120 beats per minute. He's probably got that cortisol, that DHEA, that adrenaline running through his body. There's one difference, and one difference only. Your heartbeat when you're scared looks like the silhouette of a jagged mountaintop. His heartbeat when he's in the zone looks like a wave. So there's one difference in your body between having anxiety and being excited, between being angry and being focused. And that's creating a coherent heartbeat. And you do that through breath. I like to teach people something called a 4x4. We breathe in for a count of 4, you hold it for 4, and then you exhale for a count of 4. Let's try one. Try one real quick. Ready? Exhale. In, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. All right, now, half of you did something that I didn't ask you to do. What was it? Because you did it right here, ma'am. Close your eyes. You get naturally into the zone just from controlling your breath. It changes your whole chemistry. So now you can use that. You can get to that fear frontier to dramatically change everything that happens in your body. So that's the fourth recommendation, is use breathing for your heart rate. So the kid who was a 6-year-old, scared to death of flying, I had a whole world taken away and held hostage for 30 years. I was ashamed because I wouldn't go on class trips. I wouldn't visit relatives. I was petrified to fly my whole life. That little seed of fear planted into a whole network of weeds that traveled throughout my psyche. So you heard I had a rare bout with leukemia that nearly killed me. 36 years old, I took a step out of Hopkins. I was never so grateful to be alive in my whole life. I had a 1-year-old daughter at the time. My wife was pregnant, and I was very close to dying. And I got out of Hopkins, and I said, having this fear of flying, this debilitating fear, is no way to have an example for my kids. I'm going to take flying lessons, even if I go into every lesson kicking, screaming, and crying. I want to get my private pilot's license. You know what happened? I fell in love with flight. It provides me with some of the most fulfilling, joyous, exciting achievement that I've ever done. I got my private license, I got my instrument rating, I went on and got a commercial license, and now that same 6-year-old kid is in an international acrobatics competition, flying upside down, sideways, and every which way but loose. And the truth of the matter is, if you're afraid of flying, you don't have to go out and do acrobatics. You don't have to do crazy stuff like I do. But you do have to get over it because it's like the snake. It's an illusory fear. You're much more apt to get hurt driving home from here or sitting in your bathroom, honestly, than you are flying. So it closed out a whole world to me. So if you can put those 5 steps to work, it'll change your life in work, it'll change your life at home, and it'll help you find the adventurer within if you can tame fear. The 5 steps are: scare yourself once a month, stabilize your heart rate, get a courage coach, practice that self-talk. And then if you look at guys like Richard Branson, that guy's been close to bankrupt 3 or 4 times, and he's having the most fun of any guy I've ever seen. So have fun. Life is meant to have fun. And I've got copies of these up front if anyone wants to grab that. I like to end on the note of one of the funnest presidents I know who really knew how to adventure and have great fun, and that's Teddy Roosevelt. And Teddy famously said, "It's not the critic that matters, nor the man who points out where the strong man stumbles, or how the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, comes short again and again. Because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who actually does strive to do the deeds. Who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who in the end knows the triumph of high achievement, and if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, such that his place is never with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat." That's the man in the arena. And that's one of my favorite quotes. I'm Patrick Sweeney. I hope you find the adventure within, make friends with fear, and change your life because of it. Thank you very much.